You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Jim, I want to ask you this here. I want to ask you this here about this particular race here between Loeffler and Warnock. It is about turnout. It is about turnout. But what you have here, Jim, though, is you have Kelly Loeffler, who's saying I'm an outsider, who is viciously attacking Black Lives Matter, who is rolling with this whole notion, the polar whites of the world, saying they are a terrorist organization. And so Kelly Loeffler, I'm going to get your thoughts on it, appears her deal is, if I can scare the hell out of white voters as much as I can, by saying this man is a lover of terrorist organizations and Black Lives Matter. But you noted in your column when she visited Ebenezer in January. So was he a terrorist then?
That's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, she was there on MLK Day. That was kind of her public debut as a U.S. senator, because she had just been sworn in a couple of weeks earlier, and she had kept a lid on her public announcements. She was, at that point, she was being groomed as kind of a suburban-friendly replacement for Isaacson, and Isaacson had cultivated this interesting relationship with Warnock. I mean, he had been at MLK ceremonies for the last 25 years. He was the most dependable Republican attendee, and sometimes he was the only Republican of note there. And it was kind of his statement, his very quiet statement that the Republican Party couldn't survive as a white-only party. And Loeffler was up there, and to kind of replace that, she said the right words. I mean, they were a little bit vague, but she carried that off well, relatively well. And ever since, she got tied up in that fight with Doug Collins for from February really up into November, and then, man, her focus has been on Warnock, and yes, she is. Clearly, they have been going through years and years and years of Warnock sermons. I mean, the guy is out there. And in the case that I cited, they had to go back to 2011 to pick up on maybe just a slight lack of phrasing. America, you can't serve God and the military. That was the last 3 minutes of a 45-minute sermon, and if you listen to the front part of that, Roland, you've been to enough churches. You know what was being said. It was a matter of priority.
Hell, my wife is a minister. My wife is a pastor. I know about preaching.
Yeah, you serve God first, and then you go to your second to your second love. And that's all he was saying. That is all he was saying. And yes, that got twisted. And it's very clear that they're trying to do the same thing that they did with Jeremiah Wright and Obama in 2008. And but to your point, what's happening here is that you've got both Ossoff and Warnock running as a team. They're running as a ticket. Perdue and Loeffler are running as a ticket, and clearly what they have decided is that Warnock is the man to attack, because if black voters turn out for him in heavy numbers, they're in trouble.
Well, I really hope they are going to be in trouble. Jim Galloway, very good column there in Land Journal-Constitution. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. This Robert, I want to pull you in here. You're there in Georgia. Look, it's going to be a turnout deal. Again, they want to demonize Warnock as much as possible. They want to tag him with defund the police. They want to tag him with Black Lives Matter. But the bottom line is here. Are you seeing black people extremely energized? Are you seeing those suburban areas energized? And then you've got these stuck on stupid Republicans. What they're doing, they're at the news conference today talking about stop the steal. They making all the allegations in a second. I'm about to play this video of the Georgia election official going off on Republicans, sowing seeds of discontent in the state.
Well, you're absolutely right, Roland. And what you have to realize what's going on here in Georgia, the reason that they are attacking Warnock like this is because they are afraid for their lives. Kelly Loeffler has no resume. She has nothing to fall back on. She's running a commercial right now for our friend Janelle in it, talking about how she lived paycheck to paycheck to get through college, when in reality, her family leveraged their farm to pay her way through college and grad school. She worked for a job for about 3 years and then married the CEO. He bought her a basketball team and he bought her a Senate seat. That is the extent of what we know about Kelly Loeffler here in Georgia, and that's why they have to attack Warnock in this way. This morning, Rainbow Push Coalition, along with Latasha Brown, Black Voters Matter, C.K. Hoffler, the National Bar Association journalist Greg Palast, filed a lawsuit. Our local counsel, Gerald Griggs, demanding that they return the 200,000 names to the election, to the rolls that were purged by Secretary of State Raffensperger, so that we can have a free and fair election in January. If you return 200,000 people to the voting rolls and you get the normal 10% of turnout that you get in a general election, that's enough to sway the election one way or the other. So Republicans have been running on a campaign of voter suppression in Georgia for over 20 years, whether that's the poll tax that they disguised as voter ID 20 years ago, whether it's gerrymandering and redistricting in 2010, the Diebold machines, which were in use in Georgia from 2000 until the last election cycle. And what we're seeing now is that by motivating the 35% of the state that's African American, the 12% of the state that's Latino, the 52% of the state that's women, the LGBTQ population, our college student population, you have the ability to flip the state permanently. Demographically, they have been a blue state for 20 years. It's been voter suppression that's kept that from happening in the actual voter turnout. And what we saw in 2018 was when Stacey Abrams ran a bold, progressive campaign, not a Jason Carter campaign, not a Michelle Nunn campaign, where you just tried to get those old Reagan Republicans who used to be Democrats 40 years ago to come back, but really tried to motivate people who were in part of the progressive base to turn out. We saw that she nearly won that election. That went a long way to flipping the state. So we have to keep motivating those people, fight for voting rights, fight to get people back on the rolls, and that's how you win elections, not by trying to cajole former Confederates to come back to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Roland, my colleague is absolutely right, but that only works, we've seen from 2018 and 2020, is when the coalition that he just described gets to the polls and votes in huge numbers. The Republicans can't win without voter suppression. They can't win without scaring their voters. The only way they can motivate their base to get out is to suppress the Democratic base and the people of color base and the suburban women base, because there are not enough Republican votes who follow their unfriendly policies or offensive policies. And so you're right, in the end, it's about getting your base out to vote. But the only way the Republicans can do that is to scare them and to suppress the Democratic votes, or to throw people off the voting rolls and what have you. So the playbook, we've seen it over and over again. The question for January 5th is, can the Democratic base, can Black folks get out, and Latinos and women get out in major numbers again? Because that's the only way you find yourself with a true blue state called Georgia. It's the only way. And it's a heavy lift that we've done once, but can we do it again?
Well, again, and that's why I dare say, if you're trying to get black people out, you ain't got no problem with defund the police. Monique?
Most Black people don't even agree with defunding the police.
I'm sorry, show me. I'm sorry,
we
show me. Hold up, based upon what? No, stop. Based upon what? Stop. Based upon what? Show me proof.
Show you proof of what?
Show me proof.
You data.
Show me the data. What's the polling data?
That Black people.
What's the polling data?
Community don't want you to defund the police. They want the police to be better. They want the police to have enough funding.
What poll is that?
They want to put money into mental.
What poll is that?
To reduce the police
what
in your community.
Poll is that,
That's
Scott?
too complicated.
Scott, what poll is that? Scott, what poll is that?
Reprogram
Scott, what poll is that?
It's a dumb state.
Scott, what poll is that?
Well, the Washington Post poll, the Pew Trust, look it up. All of them say that the majority of people of color do not want the police to be defunded. They want the police to be better in their communities.
Monique, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed you didn't really cite exactly the poll. You just threw some names out. But go ahead, Monique. Hold on. Nice try. But you're like, oh, look it up. Go ahead, Monique.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Roland, are you going to act like you don't know that Black people in poor communities want the police, that they are the ones who call the police more than anybody else? That they want.
Hold up. That wasn't the question I asked. No, stop. That wasn't the question I asked.
Yeah,
I'm speaking.
No. If you're gonna say something, if you're gonna say I said something, be factual. Go ahead.
A whole lot of male energy.
First of all, this ain't male energy or female energy. It's called energy.
Speaking.
No, if you're gonna say something, back it up. Go.
Let's just have manners.
Go.
What Scott
I
was
got
saying
manners.
Was absolutely correct, right? That it is Black people in poor communities who want more police presence rather than less. It is people who don't need Black police presence in their communities, who don't ever see the police, who, if they see the police, it's an exception,
I'm aware of that, but that's not what I asked.
See, here you go.
No, but if you actually answer the question I asked, as opposed to trying to deflect, answer the question I asked.
I believe I answered when I said, you know, and I know, as Scott said, that Black people by and large want more police presence in poor neighborhoods than less. And the reason why we are saying defund is because we have an understanding through study, through empirical evidence, through science, that we can use less money and more community presence and smarter policing to get to a different result. All I am saying, and I agree with my brother Scott, which this is like 2 weeks in a row, and I'm impressed with myself, is in Georgia, y'all scaring these people. And if you don't want Georgia, fine, go ahead. Stand, beat.
They're not scaring them in Georgia. No, they're not.
Defund the
No, they're not. No, they're not.
The police off. You know what?
They're not scaring them in Georgia. They're not.
You know Georgia. Listen.
They're not.
The people, the good white folks who you want, they don't want this. And if you think that just Black people can vote and we can win in Georgia, then I got a bridge in Georgia that I can sell you. It's on Lake Kono.
And here's the whole deal, Robert. There are white people who are also turning out who have enough sense to not fall for the Republican okie doke, who understand when people say, don't you dare try to say reclaim your time when you want to talk now.
I'm reclaiming
Here's the
my
whole
time.
deal, Robert. People are smart enough to know when people have said defund the police, they mean shifting of resources. They mean like in San Francisco, as opposed to sending the cops out when there's a mental call, they send out mental health professionals. Those who advocate defund the police have explained what it means. The opposition simply does not want to hear that. Robert, final word.
They are not smart.
Robert, final word. Robert, final word. Robert, final word. Then I'm about to talk about Georgia, the election official going off next.
I think when we're talking about winning Georgia being the most important thing in politics right now, you have to dance with who brought you here. It was a bold, progressive agenda. It was turning out young people, turning out African Americans, turning out minorities, turning out liberal whites, turning out people who are against the idea of Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue and Donald Trump. And I think you can't change your messaging now. Fight through, push through, and that's how you win.
Go with the one who brung you. That's all I'm saying. And here to all the Democrats out there who run in purple districts, maybe you should run some better races and not allow yourself to be branded. Maybe because your messaging was whack. Back to that Roland Martin unfiltered video.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.